You can call me either one. I'll respond to both.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Most people call me Dave, though.
Okay, cool. So I'll call you Dave. Yeah, so thanks for joining, Dave. Happy to have you there on the SalesLabs virtual tour. So just to explain the concept, it's going to be an Ask Me Anything today, where we're going to have like people who submitted questions already, some people who will be able to submit live questions, and then you're going to be able to answer that. And the idea is really today to talk about what's happening in the mind of a CSO, of a global chief sales officer. And so before we actually go and ask questions, can you maybe tell us a bit more about yourself and who you are?
Yeah, sure. So currently I am the chief sales officer over at Allbound, and previous to, I've been there for a year as of last Tuesday, I think. So right at the anniversary mark. But previous to that, I was a chief revenue officer at a company called Winmo. And I was actually there for just about a decade. So it started as we were a very small startup in Atlanta, Georgia, operating kind of a warehouse, probably less than 20 employees, pretty small ARR at that point. And, help grow that to, international organization with offices in New York and London. I went through many different acquisitions and creative acquisitions. And I was part of a team that sold the company to private equity back in 2018. So it was bootstrapped the entire way. So we did not take any, we took a round of debt to purchase our first acquisition, and that was it.
Okay.
So it was a very lucrative exit for our CEO and founder. And it was a really great experience. And prior to that, and I guess one of the things that makes me kind of unique, I feel in my position that every person underneath me, I've been in their role at some point in my career. So I started in SaaS as an SDR at a company called MFG.com. So I was picking up the phones, cold calling, and didn't have the sales loss and the outreaches of the world. So it was just pounding a bunch of emails out there. And then I moved into account management, or CS position. So I did that for, I think, about 18 months, and then moved into an AE position. Did that for about a year. And then that's when I transferred over to Winmo and saw that growth. So that's kind of the short and sweet version of at least my SaaS career.
Okay. And so now at Allbound, you are, what are you doing?
So at Allbound now, I came in to help grow and scale the organization and have kind of a similar success as what transpired in Winmo. So I was really intrigued about the PRM space. Dabbled a little bit in terms of partners and channel, but didn't know too much about it. But knew there was a giant need for PRM in this space. So joined and immediately started hiring and ramping up the team. So hiring account executives, hiring a head of channel, sales ops. Funny story, we actually opened our UK office, and I hired my managing director in March, right before COVID. So the plan was to bring Mishak, who's an MD over there, to Atlanta for 2 weeks. So he came, spent about 2 days in Atlanta, and that's when President Trump said, "Hey, we're going to close borders the next day." So the next morning, he shot back to the UK. But during COVID, he was able to hire 2 sales reps and an SDR and scale the team and onboard the team, and really successfully. So it's been great to see. And they just got together for the first time a few weeks back, face to face. This is the first time they've ever met each other prior to COVID. So yeah, we're looking to grow. We're scaling up. We're talking to larger, more enterprise level customers, and obviously we're building out and taking advantage of a lot of opportunity in Europe as well right now.
Okay, good. Yeah, I guess there's a lot of companies that hired many people without even seeing them face to face. And then there must be this kind of weird feeling where you meet someone, you've been working with this person for 6 months, you're like, first time we meet. So I think it's I think it's pretty cool. We're all kind of strangers to each other now, because I've done that a lot where I was hired in companies, people from the US, I worked with them, and then they came and I was like, oh, it's nice to see you in real time. And now it's the case with people who live also in the same city as us. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and it's funny, I don't think this would be possible to ramp a team up as quickly as Mishak and I were able to do without, some of the technology that we have. Because, 10 years ago, without the technology like a Gong or a Chorus or the call recording, I think it would have been a lot more difficult. Whereas now, even before we have any employees start, we can send them over, discovery calls and demo calls and group conversations and training that we've had. So I see the ramp time, accelerating like it's never been before. So it's just fantastic that these tools are out there to help.
Yeah, definitely. They saved us, I would say. Cool. So
Absolutely.
we're gonna go and jump to the questions. So here we have some question there. We have, so how is your sales team organized? First question.
Yeah. So good question. So right now, our sales team is organized by geo target. So we have, I've got a team in the US and a team obviously that Mishak's running in EMEA. One of the things I did at Wimo that really helped, I think, us scale a good bit was, identifying, different verticals. So we started to verticalize and focus on specific industries and, attack those industries by placing not only the, initially AEs, but then having SDRs focus on the industry, having account managers focus on that industry as well. I think that, you're able to, speak the language, you're able to connect with specific people within that industry, follow them on LinkedIn, sell to them over and over again. So, as we scale and continue to scale at Allbound, we'll probably be looking at the same, I'll be looking at the same, opportunities to, segment and focus the team.
Okay. So for now, it's like by geographics, and then, you may expand inside of this by vertical, right?
It could be by vertical, could be by size, maybe the number of partners. So I'm still kind of very much exploring the possibilities as it relates to that, but I think there are a few different options that we can go down. So I've also got an SDR team, and one of the first things I did as well is we had an SDR team that was doing inbound and outbound. So what I did was kind of segment that group. So now got an outbound team 100% focused on doing outbound and eating and living that on a daily basis, and then someone that's really focused on inbound and now is reporting into marketing, because about 70 to 80% of her time was spent in marketing and working with marketing anyway. So so recently moved her. Okay,
that's interesting that you separated like the SDRs in I mean, the inbound outbound is very common, but like the separation, having outbound reporting to sales and inbound to marketing is interesting. Do you have some how is it working in terms of alignment for these people? So I guess outbound is maybe easier, inbound may be different. So how do you align everyone there?
Yeah, well, I think both present their own set of challenges in terms of inbound and outbound. But the alignment is there's still, the person that we have doing inbound, yes, is reporting up to marketing, but still in the weekly meetings with the outbound SDR team, and still a big kind of component to their success. So what she's doing is going in and helping create lists, identify opportunities within Salesforce, so the outbound team can actually target it. So she's assisting the outbound team in terms of finding and bubbling up opportunities. So they spend less time researching and more time they have during the day to actually, make phone calls, send out email, connect with people on LinkedIn. So that, the relationship is still very tight with the outbound team. It's just, a lot of what she was doing it was very much, doing from like having like a drift type thing on the website and focus on that. So, but it's really important, I think, even when you do that, especially as a smart company, to keep the, keep the teams very, very closely aligned as well.
Okay, good. We have another question here, which is, what KPIs are you tracking?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it depends by department as well. But obviously, your typical things like sales cycle, ACV, discount percentage. We're looking at, one of the things we're starting to look at is uh, starting to get a better understanding of how many demos are we doing, and how many demos turn, like how does that affect the sales cycle. So, I think always, especially as you grow, as start training the team. Like right now, it's relatively easy when you have a small team. As that team grows, you really need to identify through data and KPIs and analysis of how do you help each account executive. So one of the things I used to do a lot of Winbo is on a weekly basis, we'd look at the sales cycle and how long it takes to go through each opportunity stage. So if you could, if you had 15 reps and you see that, it's taking Bob a week to go through the first stage, but it's taking him 4 months to go to get to close, and the average for the team is 2 months. There's a problem there. So that's where I or the sales manager needs to go and really hone in, like what's going on. I know where Bob needs the help, obviously, but I know where the focus needs to be. And stuff like Gong and Course and things have helped tremendously with that as well. But that's a big one for us from a sales standpoint. Some of those KPIs that we're trying to get. We have for our customer success team, we have different KPIs that show engagement of our platform. So to really identify what customers are engaging heavily with Allbound, and what maybe needed a little help or assistance or push, so we can focus our time and attention from a CS standpoint on those that maybe just aren't utilizing the full potential of the platform. So seeing those engagement metrics are really important. And then, from an SDR standpoint, I think that's kind of a work in progress still, but obviously we're looking at, in SalesLabs is a tool we use, so we can go in and see, what emails are getting the best open rate, reply rate, how many touch points on average does it take to reach out to a specific individual. We're starting to get a little bit smarter how we segment our emails within a company. So we know that when you're thinking about purchasing something like Allbound, you have CROs, CMOs, and channel leads all in the mix, but they all have different pain points and different expectations and different use cases for Allbound. So we're getting smarter about how we segment within the company our messaging to each one of those different titles and individuals as well. So
I'd like to bounce back on that. So on the segmentation based on which persona you're getting in touch. So you said you had like CROs were interesting, channel manager, also a partner manager. So what are the typical pain points that these people will have? Let's say the C level, and then the channel managers.
Yeah, so the channel managers have the biggest pain point, because they're the ones that are doing a lot of the manual tasks that Allbound solves for. So having to keep up with, a lot of reports say that 40 to 50% of a CSM's time is spent just tracking down leads, where leads are, the status, and sharing that with their partner. Yeah. So what Allbound's able to do is you go in, you can submit a lead that goes to our customers. They can approve it, they can decline it, and then the partner has transparency now onto where that lead is going, as it's going to different stages, as the ACV goes up or down, as the close rate changes. So you're not having to track that down. So from a channel perspective, we're making their lives 100 times easier. So it's not a difficult sell there. From a marketing side or CMO side, we have a content repository as well. That is incredibly valuable to marketing, but more importantly than that, we provide analytics as well into what the partners are actually looking at from a content perspective. So they can look and say, oh, here are my 100 partners. I've got 1,000 sales reps here, and here are the top 15 content views, and here are the bottom 15. So now I know what types of content I need to be creating based on the views. So it makes them more efficient and provides them, it's a time saving for them as well. So a lot of times a partner might be, dealing with a competitor and want to know, hey, do you have a battle card for XYZ? So as opposed to having a marketing person spend time finding it, sending the email, that now all lives in our platform. So there's a time saving component there. And then from a CRO, they're really concerned about, that what is a revenue opportunity?
Yeah.
If we get on Allbound, how much more revenue can we ascertain, can we get from our partners? So, the nitty gritty and the tactical isn't as important to them as much as how is it going to increase revenue and make the company more money overall. So how you approach each one, because there are different components that make a lot of, sense to the channel, whereas a specific component is really valuable to marketing and CMO, whereas the CROs, they don't really care about features as much as here's where we're able to save time or, eliminate, things that are not very efficient in your partner process right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's something I always tell to people who attend my training is like, first, the first thing is I like to do an ICP metrics where you get like on at the top you will get like ideal customer companies, and then you're gonna get a segment by ideal customer titles, and then often the C or VP level they will have a certain kind of a certain amount of things they care for. I think I have a check card here. So Skip Miller from M3 Learning, you know this guy or?
I don't think so. No.
No. Okay. So I did a training. He did I have a small card here a while ago, and the people typically at the top, let's say call them the above the line buyers, they care often about ROI, risk, leverage, brand, and time, which are very different things than what we always talk about in our outreach. We always say, hey, with this, you're going to make more sales, whatever thing. And as you said, the people who are the channel managers who are really in the pain of having to kind of work with this data manually, you talk about that, but people always have different reasons. And it's just like, he said, it's just like speaking different languages. Let's say the decision maker or the above the line buyer will talk Russian. If you don't talk Russian, you speak Spanish, which is the language of the channel manager, you're not going to get hurt. And so often it's really about doing that. And this is surprising because a lot of companies are not doing it. They just have one simple messaging with like 3 USPs that are just very generic, and it lands nowhere, and people just like not answering to that.
Oh, absolutely. It's a broken process as it relates to that, because very generic emails, and a lot of times they're okay. Maybe you are sending it out to 3 people within that organization, but the message isn't going to resonate to 2 out of the 3. And then the other problem is that, I have seen before as well, is that, SDRs especially will do a lot of research and find really good opportunities, and then find one contact at that company and just, start reaching out to that one contact without doing additional research and finding 3 or 4 contacts that might be a really good fit and catering the message to each of them. You're greatly increasing your odds doing that versus sending a 11-step cadence to one person on the team.
Yeah, it's crazy. And now we have so much data, like a digital footprint we can use. People are doing a lot of things on LinkedIn, on social, so we can use all of these to actually get in touch. And I think it's never been so easy in terms of tools and technology we have when we prospect to get in touch in front of our buyers. But it's super busy. But what is crazy is that it's in the platform, like let's say the technology we have, it's all very email oriented or cold call oriented, I found. And these channels are super busy. So there are other channels. LinkedIn is working really well if you're a customer that are there. But I was talking the other day with the guy from Sendozo, for example, where you send personalized gifts that can also be interesting. So I think it's very easy. It's just about how creative are we, are we in our outreach? And I think, before it was maybe persistency and just being resilient. Now I think really being successful as an SDR or doing cold outreach is really about creativity, I think, more than before.
Yeah. And to your point, there are a lot of great tools out there that make everyone's job so much easier. But I see a lot of people that don't know how to leverage those tools correctly. So it leads to a lot of laziness. It's like, oh, I can leverage this platform now and send out 1,000 emails in 5 minutes. Fantastic, and they think that's the best way to do it. But their reply rate is zero. And what it does, it actually erodes your brand and makes it much more difficult for anyone down the road to be able to go in and be successful in terms of finding an opportunity, getting a discovery call with that individual. So it's, there's some great tools out there, but you got to be very smart and in terms of how you leverage those, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Good.
Yeah.
So we have some other question here. What's your biggest pain point right now?
Biggest pain point?
Yeah, as a CSO.
Just overall? Biggest pain point. I mean, I think it's always just, identifying the best and fastest way to grow and be efficient doing so. So, I think there are always a lot of different, opportunities out there. It's where, for me, it's where I need to spend my time, because it's really easy a lot of times too, and I've done this in the past, is lose control of your calendar and lose control of what's important and your focus. So for me, I'm always trying to identify what are the 1 or 2 areas I really need to focus on for growth, in the more the mid to long term, and try to keep that in mind, write it on a notepad or something like that, because it's very easy, as I'm sure everyone here is aware, to get too focused and end up in the weeds and get way too tactical, and you're working in the business, not on the business. And so really finding that time. And what I try to do is try to get either once a week, or at least even once a day. I'm not real good about the once a day, but to spend time where I'm just thinking about opportunities, where there's no distractions, putting my phone away, getting off of Zoom, for the first time in sometimes like 8 hours, and just really giving it thought, maybe having a notepad. So I have no distractions, and some of my best thoughts and ideas and come from that. So I highly recommend anyone not doing that to try to eke out 10 minutes a day to go. And we had a consultant come in one time, and that was his big thing, was you get paid to think, and to spend 10 minutes, like put yourself in a room, get no distractions, no devices, maybe a piece of paper, and just think, and write some things down. And I found going through that exercise, it was invaluable, because I'm one of those people that always has a device attached to their hip, and I'm a zero inbox kind of person. So I'm always, if I don't respond to an email pretty quickly, then I'm not, like, it's gone. So that presents a challenge to me.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting what you said about it's very easy to be in the tactics and not really like take the time to think strategically. And I mean, that's something I really live also a lot. I have the luxury to not have any employees working for me, so I don't need to go in meetings all the time. So I don't have too many Zooms, and I have this kind of it's kind of this paper here where I just write down tons of things like that. And I found being away from your computer, your Zoom, and all your notifications really help. And for me, it's every quarter I try to do that, and I try to find 3 main focus. And so for now, for example, I have like turn business into awareness, not turn awareness into business. That's one of my focus. The other one is like create quality content fast, and then build pipeline. These are my 3 things. And every morning I have this written down, and I'm like, what am I doing now to build my pipeline, to turn awareness into business, and then to create quality content fast? And then it's very interesting, because that's the 3 kind of like, that's my North Star for Q4. And that's just the things, everything I do, I'm like, is it serving one of these 3 goals? And it's always really helpful, because there are countless opportunities nowadays, and it's so easy to just run after the other one. And especially for me, I love novelty. So I get bored about things very fast. So I just like to jump everywhere. And I think it's a big problem whenever you have so much freedom in what you do.
Yeah, for sure. And I like the fact you're writing it down as well. I think that's really important to make sure the visual component, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
So you have that focus, but, putting time on your calendar to not have these meetings and not, do X, Y, and Z, and just time to think and time for yourself. I think, for someone in my role, sometimes that's hard. So I need to do that and put that on my calendar, or I'm not gonna get it. So having a reoccurring meeting on my calendar to do that. And also one of the things is, if you're managing a team or anything like that, take a look at your meetings and really identify, are all the meetings that you're having, are they, constructive, or should you change things up? Because I feel a lot of times we get kind of stuck in a rut, or we have the same meetings with the same itinerary, and it's just kind of, slow motion through the same stuff, but there's not a lot of value coming from that.
Yeah.
So I think there's always an opportunity to really look hard at whether the meeting is important and you need to be having, or is there a different way to kind of spice it up and keep it a little bit more interesting, provide a little bit more value as well.
Yeah.
I think that's always important, especially if you have an international team as well. I know that might be a topic for later, but we have like I mentioned, a UK team now, and then we have a team in Arizona as well. So depending on the time difference, it's 7 to 8 hours. So, but we're able to find a time that ends up being kind of mid-morning East Coast, morning for them, and more the afternoon for the UKs. But it's not only having the meeting and getting a chance to work with them, but also giving them the opportunity to present and be a part of it is really important in terms of that engagement, because it can be very difficult, managing a team that's across the pond, especially when you're starting up. It's very difficult to feel like your own island.
I've experienced that where, you start the office in EMEA, and the company's in the US West Coast. So it's, I think, 9 hours. So basically you can start talking to your colleagues at 4. And sometimes they were, that's one thing we hate in Europe. We have, if you put a meeting at 7 p.m. on a Friday, that's going to be really tough. And so it's very easy to put a meeting because it's going to be like 11 your time. If you're in California. So I think it's super important. And it's very challenging, when you have all these teams, to find to align everyone. And also just like the dynamic of the day, when you're in the morning, you're fresh. When, let's say, you had a big, heavy day and you just want to go home, you're not fresh at all. So I think it's a bit challenging to play around that.
Yeah. And to be cognizant of your, who's attending the meeting. For example, having a meeting that equates to someone 7 o'clock on a Friday, like no one's going to want to go on that meeting. You're not going to get a quality meeting out of that. So
Exactly. So another question is, like, which markets are you focusing on in EMEA?
Yeah, so really we are focusing on most all of Western Europe right now. So there's some challenges as it relates to some GDPR and more restrictive double opt-ins in Germany and things like that. So that we're still a lot of the low-hanging fruit for our UK team is still like UK, and so we spent some time going after some other countries, but right now there's so much low-hanging fruit right now and in England and kind of the vicinity that we're kind of focused on that. But we've always thought that, and we're starting to pay a little bit more focus to the Nordics, and they seem obviously a lot of English speaking there, as well as a propensity to look at and purchase software that I found in the past. So going down that route, but that's kind of where we're focused right now. We've what propelled us to get into the European market was that we went from 0% of our sales being outside of the US to 15%, all organically. Like, we weren't advertising, we weren't spending any marketing. So the buzz got around, word of mouth got around, and so we knew there was a huge opportunity to capitalize on Europe by having a team there, and then allocating some marketing dollars to Europe as well. So we'll start diving into more, get more kind of focused as it relates to various countries. But right now we're just going after all the low hanging fruit that's
Okay.
there.
Okay. And so have you found, because for me, a lot of things, I mean, a lot of people are in reps I'm training have difficulties in UK because the thing is, it's a very crowded market. Because if you are a US company, you will first go in UK because it's like same language. So it's going to be a lot easier. Did you experience that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it as a huge difference in than the U.S. But I think it depends on what you're selling as well and how crowded that market is. The good thing about PRM is that we're still in the kind of the infancy of partner relationship management. So there is a lot of prospects, even very large prospects that haven't purchased this before and are very interested in PRM. So it's not as crowded as maybe if I was selling marketing automation or sales intelligence or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And good transition to the next question, which is, what is the latest sales tool you purchased and why?
The latest. So the latest was probably, I think it was Ocean.io. It was actually purchased by by our EMEA team. So, we're always looking at, great data resources for the UK and EMEA. And we were checking out Ocean.io and looking at that and had a good trial with them and just got a purchase with them recently. But, we have a very, and I'll talk a little bit more about our sales stack. We have a very comprehensive, I think, sales stack for being a company of our size. So we use Salesforce as a CRM. We use Gong as I mentioned. We have SalesLabs, LinkedIn, obviously. We have Lead IQ licenses to be able to extract emails from LinkedIn, Zoom info, Ocean.io, and I'm trying to think of anything else. I think that's about it. But.
And Ocean.io is basically like Zoom info, but for Europe, or what's the
exactly? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like a Zoom info, but focus more on Europe and EMEA. So Zoom, I think is getting there, but they're kind of weak on the European market. So.
Okay. Yeah, if you're looking for, if you, at some point you're checking Benelux as a big market, you can check a company called Venu.io. And they are really good. So it's one of my customers, and they are really excellent with data. Actually, if you want to sell in Netherlands, that's just perfect because people in Netherlands have a lot of money. They're very hard negotiators, but it's a great market to go. And so it's really, really cool. So you can check that also.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thanks.
And now, how do you build brand awareness outside of the US?
Yeah. So, I think that probably the best person to speak to would be our head of marketing, Tori, who does a great job there. But we also contracted with a PR company to help us with press releases and writing articles and trying to get the word out. So we've been doing that. Obviously, we've been doing a lot more SEO targeted specifically for that market, paid advertising. Targeted to that market as well. So allocating dollars there. But so far we just started with the PR agency and have gotten some pretty good results. From a leading indicator, we some good results and engagement. From a lagging indicator in terms of does that equate to revenue and deals and opportunities, more to come there. We don't quite know, but we're getting some more engagement for sure.
I mean, if you could prove the ROI of a PR agency, I think you would be a millionaire because PR is so hard to, it's so complicated to kind of put the brand out there and see what's the result. So yeah,
it's hard to get that attribution. It's like, some of the ABM stuff that we're doing. It's valuable. I think it's very valuable, but there's not a great way to get direct attribution from the level of effort. So I think that's always a challenge.
Yeah, exactly. And So you have some kind of PR strategy for EMEA specific, or how does it work in your case?
Yeah, I think it's definitely more UK specific. I'm not sure. I haven't been involved. It was really been my managing director, Mishak in London, and Tori, who heads up our marketing team, that's really been focused on engaging with that company. So I'm not sure specifically, like tactically, what what they're up to. But yeah, the focus has been really on UK, and then kind of an ancillary focus on Europe as a whole as well.
Okay, good. And so for me, I have a question regarding the tech stack you have, the, let's say, sales tech. So you told about Gong. And so I'd be curious because I see a lot of like let's say marketing facing material they do. They are really good at being out there on LinkedIn. You see, just basically you only see them. And so I'm curious, did you as a user, how do you feel about Gong? Like what's the because I know they have like really good claims. I know people are really happy about it. What's the difference it brought for you, for your team as a CSO?
Yeah. So a lot. I'm a big proponent of things like Gong for a lot of different reasons. Number one is kind of what I mentioned before and alluded to in terms of just onboarding. Like I remember, and I'm probably going to, give away my age a little bit, but back in the day when I first started managing, I'd onboard a new AE and we'd have to wait for a phone call to, get them into experience what a demo is like. Then we'll have a splicer that goes so they could send their headphones. So, and yes, we had classrooms and we'd go over some role play, but it wasn't like experience the real thing. So the time it took to ramp a account executive up was longer. Now, even before someone starts, once they sign the offer letter, it could be 2 weeks. We start sending them a bunch of, gongs in terms of, hey, here's a demo, listen to this, here's a discovery call, here's something that we did about a new feature, or what Allbound's all about. Here's a recent sales meeting that we had that we think it might be valuable. So they're coming in, sometimes day one, with a better understanding about what Allbound is and how to sell Allbound than, back in the day, it took months to get there. So for me, especially during COVID, and as we were ramping up that UK team, it's been a really, really powerful tool. So that's number one. Number two is, it's great for, sometimes, and I know this might be shocking, sales reps don't always put the best notes in Salesforce. Crazy, I know, but so when something comes up and our client success team wants to analyze or listen to a call or wants to better understand what a prospect was asking, or what I guess one of our new customers was asking back in the day, they can just go into Gong, they can search calls, they can search for specific keywords. That's really powerful to get a better understanding of what our prospects are after. So that's another one. The other thing I like is that they're providing more and more. There's more of I can see all the deals that we're going to close this month according to Salesforce, because we have that integration. And then I can see the last touch points. So for example, if we have one of my reps saying, hey, this deal is going to close in November, but I'm looking, we haven't spoken or sent out an email to them in October, I'm going to question whether that's really a November deal for us. It doesn't seem so, or we're missing something there. And I can analyze, like, there's been weeks of just no contact, and I can kind of dive into like what's going on. So for myself or my frontline managers, they have a better understanding of how to, is our pipeline legit? What are the deals I need to dig in a little bit more on? So that's really powerful. And then the other thing that I think we found really powerful as well is from a development standpoint. So we have some keywords that we use that is, I think it's future dev item or something like that. But once they say it triggers a keyword, and that snippet of that call gets sent to our head of development. So they can start understanding what our prospects and our customers are asking for in terms of future roadmap items. Okay. So, it's one thing for the sales team who has kind of short memory to tell them what we need in the product. It's another to get these snippets in real time
Yeah.
about, what our customers are looking for, or our prospects are looking for. So that's powerful as well. So,
Okay.
and just call reviews. So and finally, one of the things we do on a weekly basis now is we'll get the team together and we'll listen to a discovery call, and then we'll go in and as a team, we'll do some pros and cons. So we have two different ones that we do. One is with the sales team, and another is with the head of marketing, our inbound SDR. Sometimes our CEO is on there. A lot of times actually he is, and my sales managers. And so that's helping with the discovery process as well. So now our inbound person knows a little bit better about who's a really good qualified opportunity and who's not. And it makes them better and smarter and more efficient. So, I think I gave a lot of different use cases there. They're not paying me, but it's a very, very powerful tool that we get a lot of value from.
Yeah, I guess that's why it's working so well for them, because it's like they have a good marketing, but they also have a good technology. And as in this use case you kind of described, they sound so simple, but they can accelerate. Just the acceleration of like onboarding is like so important. And because it's a huge risk onboarding a rep. And you never really know if it's going to work, because we are so good like at reps at selling ourselves. And then you often, you have the impression you hire Tom Cruise and you end up with Mr. Bean. So it's always the thing that happens in sales. And yeah,
absolutely. I can tell you that the two best interviews I've ever had over all my years, and this is interviewing hundreds and hundreds of people, two best both washed out within the first like 60 days.
Yeah.
Like I was sure they were going to be the best salespeople ever, and it was just a disaster. So I think if you're batting 60-70% as a sales manager, you're in a good spot.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I don't think we have any additional questions. So for me, I'd like to open the stage for you. If you have anything you want to talk about, promote, whatever, this is your time.
Yeah, I mean, from a promo standpoint, obviously, if one of the things that Allbound does really well from a channel perspective and partner perspective, we solve a lot of challenges that our customers are facing. So I already mentioned some of those, but one is just with their partners and a transparency issue. So partners tend to lose their engagement pretty quick if they're not getting visibility into what's going on with these, for example, these referral deals that they're sending. So Allbound provides that transparency to their partners, and you can see the engagement from that is through the roof. It also helps that they're not having to email someone back and forth as it relates to content or anything like that. They can go to Allbound and within seconds be in front of all the content that they need to be really successful from a reseller or referral standpoint. So, and then from our customers, we're providing them actionable intelligence to be smarter about how they identify and know which partners are going to be really, really good for them. Because the 80-20 rule really exists as it relates to your partners. So 20% of your partners are generally representing the vast majority of your revenue, but sometimes you don't know who they're going to be.
Yeah.
So we had a really interesting story of a customer of ours that started with us with just over 100 partners, but through Allbound, they were able to get this analytics in their data, and they were able to identify that really only half were really engaged with them. So they kicked half of them to the curb and focused their limited time and attention from a partner standpoint on these 50. Well, what happened is they ended up, increasing engagement, and their revenue from channel went up 100%.
Okay.
And then they were also able to see what are those partners doing differently than the others, and replicate that across the board with onboarding and training. So now they're back up to 300 plus, but they're really successful, really highly engaged, and things like that. So I don't want to talk too much about how great Allbound is, but if you're not using a PRM or interested to know a little bit more about how to really take your partner program, channel program to the next level, we're here to help.
Okay, good, perfect. And so if people want to get in touch with you, interested in learning more about that, where can they get in touch?
Sure. Yeah, you could go to our website, Allbound, ALLBOUND.com, and submit a request, or find me on LinkedIn, Dave Thomson at Allbound. Reach out to me directly. Happy to connect with anyone and everyone, and answer any questions that you have as well. And we're not a great fit for everyone. People that think they're going to get a PRM, and partners are just going to be created because of it, or is the same kind of logic of buying something like Salesforce and you're going to get sales from it. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So having a strategy in place, and we can help with some of that, but having some sort of strategy in place to grow your channel is really important.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to put you in touch with resources to help you if you're in that stage. But we're if you're at that stage of you've got a clear path to growth, and are serious about taking your channel and partner program to the next level, I think Allbound is the best resource out there to do so.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot. I'll include all that in the episode notes and put some links. So thanks a lot, Dave. That was really nice to have you there, and wish you a good day then.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.